Minister, I have been contacted by many aspiring homeowners over the past few months regarding their mortgage applications. Unfortunately, they are facing a lot of uncertainty concerning their applications to financial institutions and the drawdown of funding because their employer is availing of the TWS scheme. I know that the Minister has engaged with banks in relation to this. During your discussions with the Banks Minister, have they given any indication of how many people are being affected? I can see through my own constituency office, and I'm sure you see it yourself at your own doors, the volume of queries coming in, and that this is a significant issue.
Thank you very much.
I understand this is grouped with 68, but I don't think the Deputy is in the chamber, but they are grouped.
I was about to ask Deputy Cahir, what question does that refer to? Is it number 60?
68, in the name of Pádraig.
My own question is 71.
Might be
71.
No, I understand. It's just that the Deputy isn't in the chamber, but they're grouped. So if you just answer Deputy O'Sullivan's question.
Okay, well, that doesn't tally up with the...
no, they're different. They're just different numbers.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Well, of course, the numbers don't make a difference
right.
to my able to get the material, but I can deal with the question anyway from the Deputy, and thank you for raising it. So yes, indeed, Deputy, I have raised that with the CEOs of all of the banks, and my officials do continue to raise it. And Deputy, this is the view that I have strongly passed on to the banks, and indeed some of them have said this now publicly, is participation in a wage subsidy scheme should not, in general, preclude somebody from being able to get a loan or a mortgage. This has to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis by the banks, but the balance they are trying to get right, which I do understand, and I do know it's a difficult case to make to somebody who is worried about whether they will be able to get their loan or their mortgage, is the need to take care with granting the loan to somebody which in a few months or next year we then find out that they are not able to repay the loan because their employer has ended up in difficulty due to the effect of COVID or due to the effect, for example, of changes in the wage subsidy scheme. So it does go back to the principle of ensuring that lending is given with care and lending is given in a way that is also in the long-term interest of those who are receiving the loan. But Deputy, to conclude with this point, again, from an overall point of view, in general, being on one of our subsidy schemes should not, again, in general, preclude somebody from getting a loan. The viability of the employer, the nature of the support that the employer is getting are all matters that have to be taken into account. And it's my expectation, Cahir, that so many of the employers that are on our wage subsidy schemes will continue to be viable, will continue to be successful in the future. And these subsidy schemes should be seen for what they are, which is an exceptional bridge to get Irish employers through an exceptionally demanding time.
Thank the Minister for his response. I'd also appreciate the regulatory framework which you have mentioned, and that the decision to grant or refuse an individual application for a mortgage is a matter for the financial institution. However, many of the constituents that I have been speaking with have not been in any way impacted financially. The issue is that they cannot draw down a previously approved mortgage. Often, employers provide letters to state that their employment will not be affected and assure that there is no long-term financial difficulty, yet they are not able to draw down the mortgage. I would urge the Minister to engage further with the banks on this issue.
Thank you, Deputy, for that. Yes, of course, I will continue to follow up on this matter. It's very important not only for the families, for those who are affected by this issue, who are looking to draw down a mortgage, but I think there's a broader reason why it's important, which is that the programmes that we have in place at the moment will, as Count Corda, be in place as we move through much of 2021. And it is also important that in terms of our mortgage market continuing to operate and mortgages being issued, that we don't end up in a place that broad schemes, which will continue in some format into and for most of 2021, of themselves don't end up being a reason as to why somebody then cannot access a loan. It has to be done on a case-by-case basis. I would hope and expect that if an employer is willing to vouch for provide evidence of the continued viability of their company, that it would be a really important element in the loan application being evaluated. But Deputy, I will continue to raise this matter.
Look, I thank the Minister again for his response. I appreciate where you're coming from and the importance of protecting these people that may not have long-term financial security, and nobody here for a second is advocating that obviously that banks would approve loans, you know, for jobs that are unviable or to lend recklessly. Of course, we're not suggesting that. And I suppose I just need to emphasise that these were applicants that were pre-approved for mortgages, and it's the drawdown that they're actually having difficulty with in terms of being on one of these schemes. And I appreciate the opportunity to raise the issue here again today, Minister. I do think that it's imperative that we continue to allow people who can purchase a home to do so, to ensure that we have a functioning housing market. And on that note, I'd just like to welcome Minister O'Brien's recent announcement regarding the launch of an affordable housing scheme, and I eagerly await the details on this. Finally, I would be grateful if you and your officials would continue to keep the mortgage issue under review.
Thank you. We will indeed, Deputy. And you know, when the decisions were made in relation to the granting of the mortgage, I mean, they were made at a time in which our country and the world was so different, and things have changed now. And of course, I know the Deputy is not advocating in any way an irresponsible approach to these matters. I absolutely know that. The case that he is making is that if there is every prospect of an employer continuing to be viable in the future, that should be taken into account when, therefore, a person is looking to draw down a loan for which they qualified for in our recent past. So I understand that. We'll continue to raise this matter with our banking sector, and I recognise again the sensitivity of the matter that the Deputy is referring to for those who are raising the issue with him.